the tram and then make your adjustments, okay? So we have a nice smooth transition. You're welcome. Now remember guys, we have a full tour, so it's going to be 4 persons a row.
I don't have to worry about dropping it in this size, which I would do if I was on there. Hello.
And you take a look, all the way up. Look up. Yeah, it's good to go. All right, you're welcome, my friends. Are you ready, my brother? Alrighty, so I'm pretty sure you guys can tell that I like to have some fun, you understand? As I mentioned, we are not in court today, we are on Kyle's party bus, as I like to call it. Now this gentleman driving the tram, his name is Keon. Everyone say hi, Keon. Hi, Keon. We are in good hands today. Now guys, the rules of the cave are very simple. I want everyone to keep your hands and legs inside the tram at all times. There is no standing on the tram when it is moving. And please keep your helmets on for the duration of our tour as well. A second rule, which is the most important one, there is absolutely no touching of any of the walls or formations in the cave. That is an offense punishable by a $50,000 US fee. That's a steep one, and the government takes it extremely seriously as well. So let's resist temptation today. Now the third and final rule of the cave is to take in information and have a good time. We're here on vacation. We have a nice handsome face to look at for 40 minutes. Life is nice, alright? So, let's get it started. Now this tunnel that we're making our way through, this is called the Boyce Tunnel, B-O-Y-C-E, constructed in 1975 by Mr. Noel Boyce using a 955K Caterpillar excavator. Now this tunnel was constructed specifically for ease of access into the cave so that we could build a road and take the tram tours like the one we're having right now. Ready as we are about to enter the largest chamber in Harrison's Cave. Make sure to look both directions as the lights start to pop up in here. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Great Hall. Now this is indeed the largest chamber in the cave at 100 feet in height and 150 feet in width. These big formations on the ceiling are called stalactites. The corresponding formations, when we lost our helmet, the corresponding formations down below are known as stalagmites. Now these are formed due to calcium saturated water making its way through the limestone, depositing calcium carbonate with every drop. It takes them on average 120 years to grow a single inch at this size, and we will also be seeing this chamber from 4 different angles today as well, and each time it's going to look different. All of the chambers in the cave are also naturally formed, and we're going to talk about them. Now coming up on the left, we're going to take a look at a large cluster of stalagmites known as the village. Now this one is really easy, don't be shy. Can anyone guess and tell me why people call this the village? That's right, because there's a lot of them, looks like a bunch of buildings, looks like a village of people. That's absolutely right. So sometimes people say, Kyle, I can see my mom, I can see my dad. I've even heard baguettes before, you know, the long pieces of bread. Now when a stalactite and a stalagmite meet each other, they form what is known as a column. If you guys take a look around the village, especially towards the back, you're going to see quite a number of columns as well. We're going to see a few more as we continue our journey today.
Exactly. And he'll stop for both.
Now there were 2 very brave gentlemen back in the day that mapped our cave for us. Their names were Tony Mason and Ole Sorensen. We're about to take a look at some crawl spaces that they would have used back in the day. So those guys would have been on their hands and knees crawling through these very spaces here on the left in attempts at mapping the cave for the first time back in the late 60s, early 70s. At some point they would have been crawling up this incline into a very special chamber that we are about to enter. Now this chamber is called the Rotunda. Some call it the Crystal Room. This is a natural chamber with a 50-foot high ceiling, and 2 streams of running water. What makes it so special, this is the one space. Just remember to be seated when the tram is moving, right? Everything is going to be on the opposite side when we come back down. Now this is also where we have things that rum tastings, dinner parties, musical performances. We will change the color of the lights, set up the tables, the portable air conditioning, and this is where all the action happens in the cave. This is also going to be our first stop on tour today. When the tram comes to a complete stop and they give you the all clear, you can disembark. This gentleman there, that's Mr. Darius, one of our professional photographers, and he'll be more than happy to help you with those photos in this chamber if you need him. So that's where the tram will stop. Perfect, you are free to disembark.
Terraces.
So you guys can begin to imagine what it must have been like back in the day, crawling through these spaces here on the right in a dark, unexplored cave for the first time back in the late 60s, early 70s. Must have been quite the experience, to say the least. So did you see that look of absolute confusion on some of their faces? Mission accomplished, that's what I'm talking about. Alrighty guys, so let's continue our journey ahead a little deeper into Harrison's Cave today. Now coming up on the left, we're going to take a look at a large body of water known as Explorer's Pool. Take a look at that. Now this water here is around 6 feet deep in the center, or about 3 meters. Again, you guys see that ladder and a dark hole up there? That dark hole is actually the natural entrance to the cave. So that leads to somewhere called the Harris Gully on the surface, and that's where the 2 men entered the cave for the first time back in the day. You're also going to notice that we're not going to see the animals, and that's exactly where it was talking about. That's where all the animals live, in the natural entrance. Closer to the entrance, where is it? Coming up on the right, we're going to take a look at exactly what those guys were listening to as they were crawling under the rock. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Twin Falls. Now this is the first place in the cave that those guys were able to somewhat stand and stretch the muscles, relieve the aches and pains of crawling for hours. They were also quite relieved to see another stream of water here on the left, indicating to them that the cave was much bigger than they initially thought. Which is why we call them soda straws. They're quite alien looking, aren't they? Like something from a whole different planet. Alrighty, now take a look at these formations. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the lower Great Hall. Or as some people like to call it, the Great Cathedral. Now, here at the cave, we love to use our imagination. So let me tell you why we call it the cathedral. Some people say this almost looks like a pastor standing there. giving a lovely Sunday service to a large congregation here. And for some reason, me, as Mr. Rastaman, all I can see here is Bob Marley. I can see Shabba Ranks, Buju on a full concert, you know. Rastafari. If you guys take a look over your right shoulders on the ridge up by those shadows, this is where we first entered the cave, and where you would have initially seen this enormous chamber. We came from all the way up there. Oh yes, incredible, isn't it? Oh yes. Now, you know, my friends, as I said here at the cave, I have a good reputation to uphold. Right now, we are currently aboard the party bus. And you know, Keon, I'm telling myself the bus is quiet. What do you think, my brother? Keon said he can hear crickets in the front. My friends in the back, everyone in the back tram. Make some noise if you're having a good tour today. It's more like it. Perfect. Alrighty, so welcome to what we call the snake tunnel. Now, we're not going to see any snakes in here. However, we are going to see a variety of formations. Strange ones, beautiful ones, and we might see a deadly formation as well. Coming up on the left, we're going to take a look at the cave's youngest and fastest growing formation. Now, this is called our float stone wall. It started growing in 1981. It grows at the rate of 2.5 centimeters a year. So they define it as the cave's youngest and fastest growing formation. Very tempting, but please remember, no touching. We are watching, and so is God. and that's beautiful, isn't it? One of my personal favorites here in the cave. Now, because y'all are being so kind, you have not touched anything so far. For this tour and this tour only, because you haven't touched anything, we're not going to touch the wall today. We're going to let you guys touch a separate formation. You want to touch it? Yeah. Alrighty, you are all free to touch this one. Right here. Now, this is called a drapery stalactite. We call it a drapery because some people say it looks like a piece of fabric, a tablecloth, a shower curtain. We're going to see a few more on tour today as well. Now, coming up on the left, we're going to take a look at two very special formations in the cave. Now, these two are known as the altar. This is where people get down on one knee, propose to each other, renew their vows, profess their love. I think it was either the third or fourth day of this year, we had a gentleman propose to his lady right here on tour. Now, why do we call it the altar? Can anyone see this guy on the right, down on one knee, proposing to his very stern-looking lady on the left there? Madly in love with her. You see, he's been on his knees for about 20,000 years, and she still hasn't said yes. Poor fellow. Maybe the rate is too small or something, you know? Who knows? Everybody having a good time so far? Yeah. Fantastic. Having a good time as well. Good vibes. Perfect. Do something fun. If you have any electronic devices emitting any lights, I want you guys to turn the lights completely off for me. We're going to let you all experience what the natural lighting in the cave is like. Only for a few moments. You guys trust me? Yeah. Perfect. When I think about it, I guess we don't have much of a choice today. Well, alright, it's going to get a little dark only for a little bit. So my young ones on tour today, it's going to get a little dark, but only for a few moments, okay? I know you all got it covered. Y'all ready? Alrighty. Hit it, Keon. Woo! Now this is what the natural lighting in the cave is like. Back in the day when those guys were mapping the cave on one of their journeys, they happened to damage the lights. It took them about 17 hours feeling their way out of the cave in this. Alrighty, so my young ones on tour, you all did really well in the dark. Good job. Now here on the left, welcome to Mirror Lake. Beautiful, but absolutely deadly. Now what makes Mirror Lake so deadly is the sediment or the silt on the bottom. Towards the back, the silt gets softer and deeper. It becomes about 8 feet and reacts just like quicksand. Very thick, slimy, and sludgy. Once you're in it, you are in it. Some people look at that and say, wow, that's beautiful. I want to take a little walk or a swim across Mirror Lake. Rub the water in your skin. Remember, we are all trying to come out 10 years younger today. And I'm not kidding, you actually can touch the waterfall. That's the one thing in the cave that we are allowed to touch and interact with. That one is on the house today. Now just be mindful. It takes 5 years off every time you touch the waterfall. How old are you?
How old are you?
3? You're 3 years old.
Mine is 2.
One finger on something that don't want you disappearing on me today, alright? Perfect. So let's wait for the tram to come to the complete.
Really clear, isn't it?
And two magnificent formations here in the cave. So you all see this big drapery? We call this the chandelier, aka the squid. Some people say it looks like a squid. Others say that this one here kind of looks like a jellyfish. Now these two are eventually going to meet in the middle to form a column. And the geologists tell us that's supposed to happen in about 40,000 years. So you guys can begin to imagine how beautiful these are going to be when they eventually meet and form that enormous column. So that being said, when that time comes in 14,000 years and you all come back here to visit us, you can actually Kyle or Keon, who knows, you may get a free tram tour, a gallon of run lunch, and a 3 night stay at your villas, Keon. That's what they're talking about. All inclusive. Harrison's Cave is amazing, isn't it? Oh yes. It is unique for a number of reasons as well. The one of them being this is the only cave on the planet that we can sit down on a tram with up to 32 persons and quite a handsome tour guide and take a tour through as well. In case anyone is wondering why we aren't able to touch the formations, it's because they're made primarily of calcium carbonate. We as humans, we all have natural oils, etc. in the skin. Touching the formations causes severe discoloration. Something could break off and a whole host of other things as well. These are just a few reasons why we try our best to resist temptation and preserve this natural wonder here in Barbados. So as we start to make our way back into the lower great hall, a fantastic echo chamber. The acoustics in here are perfect for music. We've even had people come here back in the day and line these halls, playing the violins, etc. As we conducted our tours, you can begin to imagine how beautiful that sounds in a chamber like this. Now what do we have here? We seem to have another tram that we're going to pass. I think we know what to do already, right? Alrighty, fantastic. The size of this chamber, the scale is incredible, isn't it? Right, and this time we have a small boat. Now I want you guys to make a note of this boat. It's very, very important. You see, in case of any major emergencies like a cave-in or a collapse, and we can't get up through the tunnel, we are all trained. We will take turns hopping on the boat, cross the water, and make our way for the natural entrance on the surface. When we get there, we would have some lunch, and then send someone to get you guys, right? Fortunately, since the cave opened, now guys, it's a new year, it's 2025, the second month of the year. I want to say have a safe, a prosperous, and a productive year as well. And when you guys come back, you know who to ask for, right? Yeah. So that's it, Frank and Paul. Fantastic. Let's come it up one more time for the party bus, everyone. Everybody, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. When the tram comes to a complete stop, we're going to disembark to the left-hand side of the tram. I'm going to show you where to put your helmets, and we're going to be making our way through this door here as well.